Our next series that we're going to start is on the Phoenix Mountain Preserves. But before we get started, I thought we should do a little bit of a history. It's a lot of detailed history, so I'm actually going to read some things, so if I'm not looking, forgive me. The Phoenix Mountain Preserves that we know today are over 7,000 plus acres. They include North Mountain, Shaw Butte, Lookout, Camelback, Piestewa, and South Mountain. So we're going to have a lot of things to cover here. In 1970, Phoenix only had a 275-acre North Mountain Park, and they leased the 546-acre Squaw Peak Park, now Piestewa, from the state of Arizona. The Phoenix Mountains Preservation Council, PMPC, was founded in August 1970. At their second meeting, the PMPC stated their objective as setting aside the Phoenix Mountains as a unique wilderness park. In September of that year, the council held its first public meeting to generate public support. The Phoenix Parks and Recreation Director at that time, Charles Christensen, addressed that meeting. Now, if you hike Trail 100, you know that's also called the Charles Christensen Trail in his honor. In April 1971, then Phoenix Mayor John Driggs and City Council members were invited by the PMPC to take a horseback ride into the mountains, followed by a cowboy breakfast. That was a good move because the mayor was so impressed he began a political effort to preserve the mountain. In September 1971, the public was invited to attend a second meeting. They saw a slideshow entitled Are Phoenix Mountains Plundered or Preserved? That was presented, and volunteer speakers moved throughout the city of Phoenix with that presentation to show it to other groups. Paul Van Cleve was contracted to study an area roughly of 14,610 acres and make recommendations. At the end of that study, Van Cleve recommended that 9,711 acres be preserved under his open space plan for the Phoenix Mountains. In September 1972, a large crowd turned out for the Phoenix Council meeting where Van Cleve's study was presented. A 125-member Phoenix Mountains Preservation Commission, not to be confused with the council, was appointed and was headed by Norman McClellan, who was an executive with Shamrock Foods at the time. Now, time was of the essence because the developers were really rushed to acquire land on the mountains to build homes. Money was needed to purchase the land, and bonding looked to be the best source. But the state constitution would need to be amended by the Arizona legislature and the Arizona voters so that parks and open space could be added under the category of water and sewers in order to be eligible for bonding. That became Proposition 106, with bumper stickers proclaiming, "Save our mountains and vote yes on Proposition 106. The voters passed the proposition. In May 1973, voters approved a $23.5 million bond issue. The money was going to be used in conjunction with the federal revenue sharing funds to acquire land within the Phoenix Mountains. At this point, the Phoenix Mountains Preservation Commission was disbanded because they had accomplished their goal. But the council, the PMPC, remained organized. After the election in 1973, it wasn't looking promising because the then new mayor, Tim Barrow, and several new Phoenix Council members didn't feel the same about our mountains. Without this support, a second bond issue on the ballot failed, and 3,000 acres were deleted from the preserve, and the PMPC worked hard to hold on to the rest. Fortunately, Mayor Margaret Hance took office in 1976, and she ordered a series of public meetings to determine public support for the preserve. When 643 citizens showed up in support of the preserve, Mayor Hance began looking for additional funds to keep acquiring land for the Phoenix Mountains. After Mayor Hance was reelected, she spearheaded a movement in January 1978 to refinance the city's general obligation bonds. This saved around $2.5 million annually and provided additional funds needed to purchase the land. Another $10 million bond issue was approved in 1979 thanks to the hard work by members of the PMPC. At that time, our city was in a big growth phase, and the land cost was going up because developers attempting to purchase prime real estate to build homes in our mountains were going crazy. Luckily for us, the PMPC persistence paid off, and we now have what is known as the Phoenix Mountain Preserve.